Hi there, Shannon here with Genesis Balance. Can you believe that we're already an entire week into the new year? And I'm willing to bet that some of you out there have already given up on those New Year's resolutions. If this sounds like you, you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to be teaching you a simple method that will help you make and keep your goals. So stay tuned and I'll give you this great tip that's going to help you live your best life. Goal planning doesn't have to be difficult. You just need to be smart about it. And that is the technique that I'm going to be teaching you today. It's called the SMART Goals technique. So, SMART is an acronym and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. One of the biggest issues that I see when people are working on goal planning is that they aren't specific enough with their goals. So, for instance, if I set a goal that I wanted to make more income or bring in more income over the course of this year, well, what does that mean exactly? Being specific is going to help you break down the steps that you need in order to achieve your goal. So instead of saying, I just want to bring in more income, I might say, I want to double my income, or I might want to increase my income by 25%. It just depends. But the point is to be as specific from the onset about what your goal is. That way you know ahead of time what it is you're actually working toward. The next step is measurable. You need to make sure your goal is measurable. And this really goes hand in hand with being specific. So, what is your measurement? Your measurement is what is going to tell you whether or not you've achieved your goal. Otherwise, you may stop too soon or you may keep going when really your goal was already met. So, going back to the example from specific, if I'm saying that my goal is to increase my income, when I want to get more specific and actually set a measurement to that, what does that look like? Well, I may say I want to increase my income by 10% from what it is currently. That way, I know my measurement is 10% of what I'm already making. And I'll know that I met my goal when I hit 10% more than what I'm currently bringing in. The next step is to make sure your goal is achievable or attainable. So this is a very important step that I feel like we sometimes miss. And as far as the New Year's resolutions go, I feel like this is really the killer for most resolutions when people don't achieve them or they just give up on them. The goal wasn't attainable to begin with. The biggest factor to remember here is that you want to set yourself up for success. So you don't want to set a goal that is going to be way too lofty of a goal and you're never going to get it. You're never going to make it to that goal. So what does that mean? Well, an attainable goal for me may be to increase my income by 10%. But if I said I wanted to increase my income by 500%, or if I said I want to suddenly wake up and be a millionaire, well, while those things are maybe possible, they're not very probable. And that is the key to making sure your goal is going to be attainable. Is it probable that I can meet this goal? So for me, increasing my income by 10% is probably the more attainable goal than, saying I want to double or triple or quadruple my income. The next step is to make sure your goal is relevant. What does that mean? Well, relevant means how does this pertain to my life and is it going to matter? The things that we're looking for when we're saying, is this goal relevant, is how is this going to make my life better? Is it something that needs to be done right now? Is this something that needs my focus immediately? If you're setting a goal and it's not really relevant to what you're doing in your life or where you're trying to go with your life, you're probably not going to remain motivated to keep pushing forward to reach that goal. So for me, if going back to our example, my goal being very specific, measurable, and making sure it's attainable is to increase my income by 10%. How is that relevant to me? Well, there are things that I want to do in life that need money. And by increasing my income by 10%, that is going to open the door for me to do some other things that are already on my goals list. So yes, for me, increasing my income by 10% is one, very specific. I know that I'm measuring it because I know exactly how much income I'm bringing in now, and I know what 10% of that would be. And it's an attainable goal. It's not too lofty. And it's relevant because there are other things already on my goal list that need that income in order to achieve those goals. So the last letter is T, is time bound. I cannot stress to you how important making sure your goals are time bound is. If you do not set a time limit on your goals, you are very likely to not push forward to achieve them. So, for instance, if I say I want to increase my income by 10%, but I never put a time cap on that and I never break down that goal any further, well, sure, I may end up increasing my income by 10% 2 years from now, but have I met my goal? Is that really how I wanted to set my goal? When we put a time limit on something, it pushes us forward to get to work. And we want to make sure that we're always keeping it within the realm of that attainable, that A. These don't necessarily need to go in this specific order, but the SMART acronym is a way to remember all the different key components that you need for building a really good goal. So even though we may be looking at the time-bound piece, we want to make sure that whatever time limit we're putting on our goal is still attainable. We want to make sure that we have the relevance of our goal and the time limit on our goal because we are trying to be very specific about our goal. We want to make sure that we have a measurement on our goal because that's going to tell us whether or not we're keeping within the range of attainability. Is it still going to be attainable if I set my measurement at 50% of my income, doubling my income, tripling my income? Is it still going to be attainable? So breaking it down again, we want to make sure our goals are very specific. And the way that we make our goals specific is that we look at it and we say, okay, what is our measurement so that we know when we met our goal and what it is that we're working toward. We make sure that it's attainable so that we're not setting ourselves up for failure. We want to set ourselves up for success. We want to make sure that it's relevant. So we want to make sure that we're setting goals that pertain to where we are in our life right now. If it's a goal that we can wait on, then we probably should be waiting on it because there are things that may be more relevant to our lives where we are now. And then we want to make sure that it's time bound. We want to make sure that we have deadlines set up in place so that we know what we're working toward and how we're going to achieve it. So there you have it. SMART goals. It's the perfect way to set yourself up for success when goal planning, and it's a great tool to use when setting up those New Year's resolutions. So, until next time, here's to living your best life. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up and click that subscribe button below. Also, head on over to genesisbalance.com and check out the SMART Goals worksheet in the resource section. Here's to living your best life.